All right, it's Activision-Blizzard time. There's quite a bit going on. Fran Townsend, you know, that one. She has basically had a big old statement that is curiously timed with an upcoming, earnings call soon enough. So, we can look at it cynically. But also there is the potential pausing of the whole lawsuit because of all of the bullshit that we've covered recently and a few other little things. So, yeah, it's not out of the woods yet. All right, so disciplinary action and firings. What's happened so far is that over 20 people have exited the company and a further 20 have got other types of disciplinary action. Now, there's basically no real word on the specifics here. I think a lot of people would like to know those specifics, but also, I guess there's privacy and all of those things that probably form a part of active cases and all that jazz. Now, this is a confirmation that comes courtesy of Frances Townsend, who, of course, she shared the whistleblowing article and all of those things that were a rather bad look. She didn't really Twitter that well, even blocking some of her own, company's employees, which, not really the look. But overall is that funny thing where she's... her tune's a wee bit different now. You could certainly say. So there is her letter here, creating a more accountable workplace. Yes, the responsibility of earning our employees' confidence that when they speak up, we'll do the right thing. Talking about tirelessly working to move forward, that she is listening to feedback over the past several months, and she thinks it's clear that we need to do more with a renewed urgency. Again, all of this stuff, it's like, that could be genuinely what she thinks, but when she came out swinging the way she did initially, certainly it's hard to take much seriously.
Yeah, I mean, didn't she basically just call it all a bunch of lies that shouldn't be paid attention to?
Yes. That's why it all feels preposterous. It all feels like bizarre robot people. Yes, right, they've apparently thoroughly evaluated their broader compliance and a whole bunch of other things. And they have got several clear and actionable recommendations. So, first, do not hesitate to terminate or discipline those who have violated the policies. Yep, true, good. Second, be transparent, not only about the investigation progress, but also the actions that are taken. And third, to invest resources into ethics, culture, and training. So, there you go. She says that first she wants to give people a sense of what they've been doing to investigate claims. And it's kind of like they're just saying the same thing again and again and again in a slightly different context and verbiage. In the entirety of Activision's Blizzard's leadership, nothing is more important to them than making sure everyone feels safe and equal in the workplace. Interestingly, this seems to be a new focus, a new point of concern from them versus, previous, because this was fucking known. This shit was known by, everyone. Oh, dear. Yeah, so, you can keep on saying this, but I think it's really up to the employees to judge if it actually is successful. But, yeah, they've received an increase in reports through various reporting channels. Of course, there will be an emboldening effect whenever the dam is broken there, and that's when she says that over 20 people are gone, and another 20, more than 20, have received other actions. So there was that on her first point to what they're actually doing and saying that reports can be submitted anonymously and there is zero tolerance for retaliation of any kind, which is an interesting thing because we have then heard... we have heard slightly different things. Now, there is totally the thing where from the top they could say, no retaliation. That's bullshit. However, some, middle managing Andy could be thinking, well, maybe they will have personal incentives to retaliate and to, repress stories and things like that because they could be maybe attached to them in a secondary manner, right? It could look bad on them. It's one of the things when you get into these large lumbering organizations where you find so many severely unmisaligned incentives throughout the structure.
Yeah, and I think that talking about retaliation with zero tolerance is extremely rich considering they seem to be happy enough to retaliate against their workers who simply want something better.
Yeah, that's... we need to hear more about the retaliation stuff. There's been a lot of allegations and things floating around. I think that is part of the active cases, so yes. I suppose we'll have to see what comes out of that. And now the second point here in her letter is basically about their complaints handling and stuff. So she talks a bit about the ethics and compliance team leadership, where Jen Brewer has been promoted there. So there's that. There is way to play heroes. I always find it bizarre how they brand, like the sort of self-branding of all the internal company initiatives. But yes, these heroes are the Ethics and Compliance Program's unsung heroes, and heroes will receive 1 additional vacation day a quarter to recognize their contributions to this very important work. So I guess it's just an employee incentive scheme, basically. Then investigation team resources, where basically they've added 19 full-time roles to their overall ethics and compliance team. That's the sort of thing that I guess is actually a little bit more important. That's like the actual structural change that can maybe help the resolution process through things like this. So I suppose the more there, the merrier. And also, like, they're definitely going to feel like they need to hire those roles, because if they don't have that shit handled and then the story gets big, obviously that's really bad for their bottom line and their stock. Investigation team structure, where they're combining their investigation groups into one centralized unit within a central ABK ethics and compliance board. So basically, it seems like instead of being out to the business units, it's all centralized now. Which is interesting to me, just specifically because there was a few rough things about Blizzard, and Blizzard was always very much Blizzard. I suppose it's a bit like that responsibility is now taken away from Blizzard. More centralized, I guess. They can keep tabs on things better.
Yeah, because clearly they can't be trusted, so they have to bring it as close to in-house as possible.
Yeah. So then there's just a bit more on the employee relations team, as well as some transparency things, which, transparency, I think, in the internet, that's what people want to see, because when there's a lot of anger, people want to see, right, these people are gone, here's why they are gone, this is the sort of thing that we now know is not okay, because people have, been fired for it. Well, what she said here is that they're working on additional materials that document their procedures and outline what members of the team who report misconduct can expect during a process. It's basically that thing where everyone wants to know, but what Fran says is, we know there's a desire to know about the outcome when misconduct is reported. Sometimes there are privacy reasons that we can't share, but where we can, we will be sharing more information with you. We will also be providing you regular aggregate data about investigation outcomes. I suppose I can understand that there's, complexities there. Certainly the more the merrier. And then finally, they are tripling their investment in training resources, which probably is a good thing. It's the sort of thing I've always been very skeptical that, a few little workshop days are going to really make any change. But I suppose it's actually more that if you've went to the workshop day, kind of signed off on it, then you act against that workshop day, then actually there's like a bit of an accountability thing built into that, where, that day may fail to change somebody's behavior, but if somebody went to that day and continued with their bad behavior, then the company's got a very clear reason, right?
It's a case of you can't just go, oh, well, sorry, I didn't know that was offensive, or I didn't know that was harmful. You can't feign ignorance at all, even if, you maybe were actually literally ignorant as opposed to feigning it.
HR, our shoulder muscles are wild tight. They just, they needed a good wee massage there. Terrible neck pain if that goes untreated. Yeah, I have to imagine that some bozos probably used something like that as a defense.
Almost certainly.
Which, but yeah, earnings calls November 2nd, so of course they'll be making big noises about all of these things. And that will be an interesting earnings call. I mean, number one, because it's following all of this stuff, but also, there's this side of the Activision-Blizzard. There's also the, the games side, the MAUs, things like that. Which certainly for a product like World of Warcraft, we'll be very interested to hear, especially since they very tactically deployed patch 9.1 to cover 2 quarters. And then in the next quarterly earnings call, remember all of those people who did the Hearthstone promo to get the free mount, they will actually count as 2 MAUs because, they'll have logged into Hearthstone. If you log into WoW once and then Hearthstone, you're 2 MAUs, even though it's 1 user account.
Yeah, and they'll be logging in because of how they split it up. You first get the 6-month sub, and the mount, I think, was at the end of September. So you log in September. Then Mercenaries launches, where you get a bunch of free packs for that. That launches October. Then the next wave of free Hearthstone packs you get will be December. So you're basically, here you go, log in for freebies. Basically, a kind of less transparent version of trying a monthly login bonus is basically what they've tried to do. And we'll see if it's been successful. I really hope it hasn't.
Aye, but free mount, free mount, man. People are going to do it. Okay, so the other side to this then is the lawsuit, where, of course, we recently reported on the ethics violations by two of the, I think, the lead lawyers in the DFEH's case. So Activision-Blizzard have requested additional time to further investigate that potential professional ethics violation. So they basically want to pause, get the permission to pause things so that can be looked into more, which obviously would be in their favor because the EEOC, which is the federal body, they are a lot lighter, it seems, than the DFEH, who are very much out for blood in this one. So yeah, for your recap there, the EEOC was an 18 million settlement, but that settlement, it didn't really go far enough. If people signed up to it, then they basically were just kind of, ticking off the matter as resolved, which would have damaged the DFEH's case. A little bit of a sort of, the evidence is now moot, that kind of thing. And then in addition to that, the EEOC's case was only 2016 and beyond, when there are a lot of historical violations. So all of that stuff. Now, the rough thing is that the EEOC responded to the DFEH's complaints about the settlement by saying that actually two of the lawyers who are currently working on your case used to work with us, and there's a big professional ethics violation, which is a very, very messy thing. Of course, Activision-Blizzard, therefore, are going to be taking as much advantage of this messiness as they can. They have called for a stay in proceedings in their ongoing case with the DFEH, which is the big one that kicked all of this off. Now, if all of these things are found to be true, the DFEH could be a bit disqualified from their own trial, which would, of course, be incredible news for Activision-Blizzard. Now, Blizzard's claims are basically echoing what the EEOC's claims have been, who of course said that the entire investigation and the evidence that went into creating it is all tainted by the ethics violation. Which, oh man, having the whole thing go down like that, ouch. Now, they also apparently believe the DFEH should be disqualified for their communications with Activision-Blizzard employees regarding their rights to use external lawyers, where they're alleging that they advised employees to simply cooperate with their investigation rather than to seek their own external counsel. So they're not happy about that. And if this comes to pass, then the DFEH's case could kind of fall apart. Activision-Blizzard could wiggle their way out of this one, get the tiniest slap in the wrist via the EEOC, and, all happy days, back to video games. Not exactly fantastic news for the staff, is it, at all? Or for Activision-Blizzard really being properly punished for, what's actually went on. So this is certainly not looking great for the whole, justice for the victim side of things. And, it is just weird. It's like it's Activision-Blizzard and the federal body versus the state body. Just feels weird.
Yeah,
feels bizarre.
I can kind of see that with the Californian state being under fire from a lot of places for being, very different from the federal and the general American outlook on things. But it is just why does it seem like the EEOC is just straight up friendly firing here? That's what it looks like to anyone who's thinking about it from the normal person perspective, which is Activision Blizzard did bad thing against employees. That's
I
a
would
conception
say
at least.
It's like whenever you look at maybe the incentives of individual bodies.
Yeah.
Well, the EEOC is certainly going to have an incentive that theirs is the right one, right? I imagine.
Yeah. I think that's the part that most bystanders will find frustrating.
Yeah.
It's clearly that doesn't matter versus, if this is justice related, it should be, Activision Blizzard versus the employees. Which side are you on? You have to be on one side, but obviously it's not that simple.
Yeah. Now, to all of this, the DFEH has actually responded. Took a little while. So they are accusing Activision of attempting to conjure a scandal from these mundane facts. Now, certainly, these mundane facts, that doesn't seem great for the DFEH. Obviously, I'm a layman, but, rather than attack the thing they're being attacked with in terms of its veracity, they are admitting that, yeah, these are facts. They're just saying that they're mundane and not important. Now, most people would agree, probably, that, in the broad, the big picture, the facts that are important are, what's went on in Activision-Blizzard and all of that stuff. But, the legal system's got to run in a watertight manner.
Yeah.
And that's why these ethics violations are actually quite a serious thing. So they say that the ex-EEOC lawyers weren't heavily involved in the case while they were still at the EEOC. Neither of them worked, quote, personally or substantially on the EEOC case. They were screened in an abundance of caution. Activision-Blizzard reportedly knew that these lawyers used to work for the EEOC. The DFEH and the EEOC already had an information sharing agreement in place, which not only permits the EEOC and DFEH to share information, but it actually requires them to. So the DFEH are saying that Activision-Blizzard can't point to any actual or even hypothetical harm regarding the two lawyers. So it seems that on paper there technically might be an ethics violation. They are basically saying that it's mundane, and they're trying to highlight that it is at most on a technicality because those two lawyers were not really involved in it when they were at the EOC. So that's what the DFEH are claiming.
Yeah, that's the fun thing, that you talk about how this like legal stuff has to be watertight, but clearly they're just going, nah, we can argue it. Like if you want to set this up and actually talk about it genuinely by the letter of the law, we kind of screwed the pooch, but speaking from what the literal like output is, we're perfectly fine and we'll stand by that. Yeah. This is just Activision Blizzard trying to get out of it. You're like, bold thing to do, but if that goes to a judge or it goes to anyone who's kind of got that freedom to go, yeah, sure, whatever, then they actually could be right there. But it seems,
I guess so. This is probably one for Richard Hoag to deal with.
Yeah.
We are but laymen.
Yeah.
Now, there is another quick little thing where the Overwatch League and Call of Duty League are making changes following a Department of Justice investigation. Whoops! It's always good when the DOJ needs to come into your eSports league. So they are removing the competitive balance tax and the soft salary cap from both the OWL and CDL. These stipulations punish teams that spend above a specified amount on their player roster each year. So the soft salary cap for the 2020 season was 1.6 mil. Now, these policies could very well be in violation of the 1890 Sherman Act, which is a pretty damn big one, but also precedent set in a 1965 Supreme Court case that agreed that union-employer agreements are beyond the scope of the Sherman Act. Now, other sports leagues like the NFL are able to take advantage of this stipulation because they maintain a close relationship with player unions. The OWL and CDL, of course, do not have labor unions, right? So they sort of fall out of that. So the decision to finally do away with this, the potentially problematic regulations, comes following the news that the U.S. Department of Justice had opened an investigation into the Overwatch League. And Activision-Blizzard, confirmed their cooperation, so it's not really that hard to join the dots when that limitation is being removed.
Yeah, I hope Activision-Blizzard's legal team is big enough and paid enough to have to deal with all of this all the time.
Yeah, it's great to know that that's where your sub fee for WoW goes to, your store mounts.
Yeah. That'll be the next one. Instead of selling World of Warcraft toys to help the MDI pool or whatever else, or the arena pool, the next Owl skins will be directly in support of the Legal Defense Fund.
Oh my god, yeah. I'll convert everybody into super fans, and then the companies are like, please, fans, please. Our lawyers cost $8,000 an hour.
It's like the video game company equivalent of a GoFundMe for legal defense. Oh my goodness,
man! Yeah, so there you go. There's a trip down the windy road of Blizzard's legal, or Activision Blizzard's legal situation at the minute. You know what? It's fun to travel the path. I can't really profess to know exactly where it's going, or all of the detailed minutiae of what it all means, other than big fuckity bad.
Yeah, I think the only real takeaway here is sometime when Overwatch 2 comes out. If they release a bunch of skins that are like lawyer themed skins for all their characters, you know why. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Let us know what you think. Of course, if you're in the legal profession, certainly any help, any corrections would be very appreciated. We are but trying to make the most sense of this as laymen who live in a different country, a different legal system, or whatever. So yes, right. Hope you enjoyed that somehow, and we'll see you next time.